I'll start off by saying that I'm a bit of an oddball as regards the academic world, because I talk about things that academics don't talk about. But I think by the time I've finished, you'll get a general idea of where I think the world should go. There's one thing about getting old, is that you don't give two hoots about what other people think. And I think that's one of the great advantages. There are disadvantages, of course, but that's a distinct advantage. I'd just like you to look at this slide for a minute, starting slide. I've used a word here which is completely banned in science. It's called consciousness. Physicists do not understand anything about consciousness. Okay? There are some guys, call themselves, well, I suppose they call themselves psychologists, and I've got one or two friends who are very much anti the sort of stuff I do, but I don't think they understand consciousness either. And I don't think any of us do, really. But we'll have a crack at it. Because today I want to reveal to you a slightly different approach that we're taking in a crop circle scenario. Now, how do I get into this consciousness field? Well, it's through dowsing. I've been a dowser since my teenage years, and in about the early 1990s, I was one of the team that set up the Earth Energies group of the British Society of Dowsers, which I'm very pleased to say is still flourishing very well, and also another group which is slightly more select, and I don't mean select in terms of being elite, I mean just the subject matter, the Dowsing Research Group. Now, it's not full of guys or number crunchers like myself. We have white witches and Buddhist monks among us, okay? So you see, we're a pretty broad church. And I think this has influenced our thinking quite dramatically. So we're going to have a crack at this anyway. It's to make you think about things in a slightly broader fashion than perhaps you've been thinking about. Okay? Those two little images you see, top right-hand corner, top left-hand corner, very important. I just want you to have a look at those and absorb them, because they are key to the way the cosmos is organized. And we find them in things spiritual, ancient sites. We find them in the world of atomic particles. The same geometry, okay. And the basic shapes that we come across this one here, which others who've suffered me on previous occasions see that that's my favorite shape. And in fact, there's a good theory around about the universe. The cosmos itself is that shape. I shouldn't use the word shape. I should really use the word topology. That's the topology of the cosmos. Okay? And other things that we're interested in are things like that, big spirals of different sorts. Everything is a spiral. Every energy, everybody talks about energy. We all mean slightly different things. It's all to do with vibration and motion, but it's all got to do with spirals of different forms. Once you know that, it's fairly straightforward. So, we'll now move forward. If we can make this thing work. Last year, I gave a whole series of lectures based on this general theme of bridging the gap between science and spirituality. I first showed this chart, must be well over a year ago now. The chart hasn't changed, but what I say about it has changed completely within a year. Two sides, okay? Left-hand side, mainstream science. Right-hand side, the world of spirituality. Now, this guy in this corner here, you see it's got a great big ball with a grid sort of around it, and the crossing over of these lines. Just think about energy lines. I'll just put that into your mind at the moment. That is the mathematical representation of the standard model of particle physics. And when I talked about it last year, I said there's one more bit of the jigsaw puzzle to find, and you would all know what it is because you were listening to your telly 2 weeks ago when you heard all about, we have found the Higgs boson. Okay. Now, I suspect 90-odd% of you have got no idea what the Higgs boson is, but you'd be pleased to know that the majority of the scientists looking for it don't either. But where these things cross over, these energy lines, okay, or in that particular model of it, is where we have these particles, so-called particles. And it's really just a mathematical representation. That's called a group. And it's the most complicated mathematical group that's, say, a mixture of things ever invented. Okay? It's taken well over 100 years to solve that particular mathematical problem. But all I want you to notice, they call it E8 by E8. Relevant, the title, apart from the number 8. And we shall say quite a bit about that. But you begin to see this shape here. There's light being shone through that open globe to create this pattern on the ground. Now, the key thing I'm going to say about this is that that ball is in 3 dimensions. The pattern on the ground is in 2 dimensions. And the thing about crop circles, we all talk about 2 dimensions. Not so. It's compressing 3 dimensions into 2 dimensions. And I make no excuses for probably going to repeat that 20 times. Okay? That is the crucial thing. Nobody said it so far today. But I want you all to remember that because that's the crucial thing. When we look at that pattern, which is a projection, a 2-dimensional projection of the standard model and all the particles, and then you analyze that from a mathematical point of view, it's got all the numbers we find in crop circles, in that 2-dimensional projection. That, from a mathematical point of view, is a crop circle. And the atomic physicist ain't got a clue. That's that side of things. Let's come to this side. Well, where do you start when you're talking about spirituality? You can go back X thousand years. That's absolutely fine. But I'll only go back to the beginning of the 19th century, whereby there was a team of Leadbetter and Besson. Those who you are familiar with theosophy will be familiar with this. That Leadbetter used his mind as a microscope, a mind microscope. And he said to himself, what does the smallest particle Mother Nature produce, what does it look like? And this is the shape he came up with. Okay? And that was the basis of a whole tome of work called occult chemistry. And I'm going to say a bit more about that, because that is the key to that. And that is the key to crop circles. How do we join these things together? Well, this is my bridge. A year ago, we were on a rather rickety rope bridge, I thought. I thought we'd seen the light. We'd got some idea about what one group was saying and what the other group was saying.